May 4th on the streets of Valparaiso City. This very tree over here, I was playing when I was a kid, and I don't remember, of course. Maybe, well, I guess this kind of memories, this kind of childhood experiences, maybe they are great, but I guess they can be anything, you know. I mean, those experiences over there and back in that time, it could be any place, I guess. I'm not sure, but it was safe at least. There was a lot of urine over there. But anyway, so today we have a lot of visits. Mercy doesn't like the visits, so neither I. But anyway, we have Timur Fomenko article, and that's it. We just have a Timur Fomenko article, not the Pepe Escobar, neither Bradley Blankenship. So just Timur Fomenko and a bunch of articles from May 1st. This is May 1st in Valparaiso City. Anyway, April 29, and I mean April 29, yeah. Home world news. The US and the UK are pushing for total war on all fronts. This from Timur Fomenko from Russia Today. The Iran-Israel clash has served as a catalyst for renewed escalation by Western leaders, and World War III cannot be ruled out, by Timur Fomenko, political analyst. We have a photograph here. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the New York City, speaks. I don't know what it was. The deputy, I guess. Deputy from New York City speaks after the Senate passed a foreign aid bill, which includes $95 billion for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. Yeah, that was pretty famous. Everybody talking about that. Like, there was a lot of, I mean, the US is giving aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. So, and why? Because who said that was Daniel Jadwe from the Communist Party in Chile. He said that Daniel Jadwe said the US is just financing all war in these three fronts in order to keep their weapons industry, their military complex running. Yeah. The events of recent weeks have produced a sudden jolt in Western politics, from a lethargy that was starting to creep into US and Western discourse over the Ukraine war. Iran's attack on Israel suddenly seemed to have had the effect of awakening Ronald Reagan from his grave and leading to a surge of neoconservatism on steroids on both sides of the Atlantic. US House Speaker Mike Johnson did a complete 180-degree U-turn and proclaimed himself a Reagan Republican, passing a series of 8 bills for astronomical overseas spending that he had otherwise blocked for months. As he denounced an axis of evil. Axis of evil. What about that? And Pepe Escobar says it is axis of resistance, but it's not the same axis, I guess. Not the same axis. Like Pepe Escobar says that the axis of resistance is Middle East or West Asia. And well, these axis of evil are three, maybe Russia, China, and what else? Cuba. No, Cuba. Why Cuba is still resisting, isn't it? Anyway, just read. Well, and the other one is, let's see, Palestine. Yeah, maybe Iran. So the axis of evil now maybe is Iran, Russia, and China. I guess I like both. I like Russia and China. Iran, I just don't know much. Along with that, a proposed TikTok ban will came out of nowhere too, and was quickly signed into law. Then the UK decided to devote its largest ever paid package to Ukraine. UK to Ukraine. To Ukraine, with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak warning of an axis of authoritarian states, and amplifying ideologically combative rhetoric. At the same time, it was then revealed Biden had sent 300 kilometers long range ATACMS ATACMS missiles to Ukraine, despite having pledged not to do so for years, fearing escalation. Finally, EU President Ursula von der Leyen has suddenly dramatically increased economic warfare on China, pursuing the European Commission to open probes on scores of Chinese exports. Where exactly did all this come from? It's almost as if the US and its allies seized upon the tensions between Iran and Israel in order to whitewash their slate and double down on a series of objectives they are otherwise losing public support for, including the war in Ukraine, but also Israel's invasion of Gaza. One has to wonder if the Israeli attack on the Iranian compound in Damascus, which provoked Tehran's response, was deliberately staged, coordinated, and planned for this purpose. It served the mutually convenient goal of letting both Prime Minister Netanyahu and Western governments off the hook for whatever opposition they had otherwise faced. It should be abundantly clear. It should be abundantly clear now that the current powers that be in London and Washington have absolutely no intent of letting up on the wars they have provoked, while also pushing for a potential tier one with China and seem indifferent to the consequences. Even if, for example, the Israel-Gaza war is shattering the West's claims of moral superiority. In each case, the stakes are very high. Western foreign policy at large was taken on a very zero-sum and ideological character, which bemoans the loss of hegemony and seeks to uphold it at all costs. It is reactionary to the extent it does not have a vision for improving the world, but wants to take back the world to the way it was. It is a sense of entitlement and privilege that wants to suppress an emerging multipolarity. Because of this, it has become impossible for Western leaders to ever consider the concept of compromise in these respective theaters, and they refuse under any circumstances to make concessions which could be deemed strategic. This has produced a position where the only outcome they are willing to accept in Ukraine is what they deem the defeat of Putin. There's a dog over there. The dog didn't want to play with my dogs. It was a wise choice. Anyway, in Ukraine is what they deem the defeat of Putin, and have been subtly escalating ever since, edging ever closer to the point where a proxy war becomes a direct one for all intents and purposes. NATO military advisors are already on the ground, and Ukrainian attacks are being guided by NATO intelligence, or even coordinated by British admirals. The media in the West, especially in Britain, there is more decent in the US, are effectively in war mode. The BBC amplifies non-stop Ukraine propaganda, pushing any claim that will help Kiev, irrespective of its empirical worth or evidence. And all voices of dissent have been shut down. It seems evident that the decision may have been made to risk a full-on war with Russia, rather than to consider any negotiation scenario. Thus, the shockwaves from the Iran-Israel saga have been used to pursue a new and sudden round of escalation on every front, which can have only been bolstered by the prospective elections looming in both the US and UK. Well, yeah, democracy and human beings are so barbarian, isn't it? So they are doing all these wars to win elections, and that probably works, that sucks. Anyway, another great article from Timur Fomenko, I guess. Because of this, it is fair to say that the world faces a more dangerous and uncertain outlook than at any point since the end of World War II. This current crop of Western leaders are not pursuing a more restrained and calculated mindset, as seen for most of the Cold War, but an aggressive and evangelistic one that does not prefer stability but affirms hegemony as an absolute right, those more resembling a pre-1914 world. Because of this, we should draw the conclusion that Western leaders are not truly seeking to avoid war, but are prepared to embrace it if necessary. The British military establishment and the media have long been making noises about conscription. In the US, if Joe Biden wins re-election, we can assume that he will unapologetically escalate on every single front. World War III is no longer a dramatized specter of far-fetched panic, but an actual possibility that should not be ruled out. The statements, views and opinions expressed in this column are solely those of the author and do not necessarily represent those of Russia today. But I guess Timur Fomenko, he is absolutely a Russian agent, you know. I guess he do represent Russia today point of view. But anyway, so I get kind of tired. I'm just gonna read headlines now. This is from April 13, from yesterday. I just got it. Ukraine will be accepted into NATO. That's terrible. That's a terrible news. This was from Slaviangrad Telegram channel. I'm hearing on the street with a lot of noise. Sometimes I have this terrible luck of trucks, noisy trucks, making a lot of sound. Well, this just happened here. Slaviangrad says Ukraine will be accepted on Western. Look, Slaviangrad. Ukraine will be accepted into NATO. Terrible news for the world. I guess there will be a lot of Russians coming here. A lot of more Russians coming here, I guess. That's great, but anyway, I hope for Anna Kurnikova, beautiful one. Maria Sharapova, beautiful blonde Russian women for me, for myself. Anyway, so we have more. I'm just gonna read the headlines. Home Africa, that aid. What's behind the West helping Africa? Why international aid meant to help doesn't, and what can be done about it? Why international aid meant to help doesn't, and what can be done about it? I don't got it. This verb meant in that sense. Western financing only worsens Africa's development prospects. In 2009, Gambian economist and former World Bank consultant Dambisa Moyo defined such assistance as dead aid. Following the rise to power of a new generation of African leaders and the creation of the Alliance of Sahel States, Africa's sovereign economic development has once again become a relevant issue. Moreover, the center-periphery model of development, with the West as the center, may be revised. This model has been in place since the 1980s, when Western financial institutions implemented structural adaptation programs in Africa that forced the state to withdraw from the social sphere and entailed the liberalization of industries, reforms of Africa's Che, the socioeconomic reforms of Thomas Sankara, president of Burkina Faso from 1983 to 1987, seem incredibly bold by modern standards. They were carried out at a time when neighboring social-oriented countries were gradually becoming involved in EMF programs, and although the USSR still provided major assistance to Africa, the Soviet Union had already embarked on a path of soft convergence with the West. We have talked quite a lot about Sankara as Africa's Che Guevara, but his socioeconomic reforms in particular seems to be underestimated. I just gonna left there the article, but because I have a lot of more. I have just too much articles. This article over here is huge. It's just huge. It's just too big to read it. So the next one, I'm just gonna read the resume because I don't agree with this article right here. I tell why some time ago. Look, Russia defends traditional values. The West is abandoning. Dogging to Carlson. I didn't know there was another interview. Yeah, Tucker Carlson did it again. He interviewed Dugin. The Western world has abandoned classical liberalism in favor of a new version defined by the rule of minorities and wokeism. The Russian philosopher explained. Yeah, I'm agree with that. I guess I'm gonna read a lot of this article. The ever-growing anti-Russia sentiment in the West stems from the fact that Russia adheres to traditional values that Western progressives are trying to destroy. Philosopher and political commentator Alexander Dugin said in an interview with journalist Tucker Carlson that was posted on the latter's YouTube channel on Monday. During the interview, Dugin So this interview is gonna be interesting to watch. Tucker Carlson interviewing Alexander Dugin. During the interview, Dugin laid out his view of the contemporary Western world and what he sees as the historical origins of his current ideology. He explained that the West has moved from classical liberalism, which professed individual freedom and democracy, and understood as the rule of the majority, to a new liberalism defined by the rule of minorities and wokeism. Rather than emphasizing freedom of the individual, the new incarnation of liberalism prescribes adherence to certain progressive values that are completely at odds with traditional values, and in fact seeks to abolish them. You know, I guess this is true, but you can make fun of the wokeism, you know, just like I do. What I do is I proclaim myself to be gay. You know, I said I'm a gay. I use vernacular words in this very country, Chile. Chile is a wokeist country for sure. But if you say yourself, you are like a pussy, you know. If you say yourself are a pussy, people should respect you, you know, and you make fun of this. Of course, if you are not homophobic, you can play the two sides, you know, you can play the two roles. A non-homophobic guy who doesn't care much about the homophobia, who doesn't see much of homophobia actually, and also maybe an anti-racist guy. That's my key. I can say that I'm black, you know. I can say I am black, or maybe I'm poor and that's what I am black. Brazilian people do that. Like back in Brazil, you can be white, but if you are poor, you are considered black too. Race in Brazil, at least, is just social, you know. If you are poor, you will be black too. And well, you can play with all these factors, you know. You can play again wokeism. You can ridiculize wokeism. That's what I do. But I don't care much about that. So you definitely you can say you yourself are a faggot, a pussy. Understand? So if you say that, everybody will respect you anyway, and nobody cares anyway. So everybody understand that that's not important. Maybe it is not that simple, but I'm just gonna read the rest of a little more of the article. Prescribes adherence to certain progressive values that are completely at odds with traditional values, and in fact seeks to abolish them. Carlson asked Dugin why many Westerners have those, even those who previously supported the Soviet Union, turned against Russia when President Vladimir Putin came to power in the early 2000s and started professing Russophobic ideas. The philosopher said that Putin is a traditional leader who defends traditional values, which run counter to those currently in vogue in the West. I guess it's more simple. The Western media and the West, they didn't like Putin because Boris Yeltsin, it was more likely to be the clown the West needs for Russia, you know. And well, it's so hard for Russia to play the imperialism game because Russia just don't have the whole industry, the whole complex, you know. So you may say Biden is not an agent, is not a full politician, understand? Biden is just a marionette. Biden is just I don't remember a doll. It's like a doll. But Putin is different, you know, because Russia doesn't have the whole apparatus. So, and well, I guess in the 2000s, the Western media just started a campaign against Putin. I guess that's it. So it's more simple, I guess. Just more. It will be just more 17 minutes. So I'm not gonna read everything because I just don't agree with all I have another article right here. War and Peace on Silver Screen: How Russia and the US Conducted Propaganda Against Each Other in Cinema. The new Cold War revives the big screen showdown between Russians and Americans. Yeah, that's interesting because I haven't seen very few Russian movies in my whole life. You know, I did went to a one. I went to a one Russian cinema. I don't know how to say, a cinema show. You know, I saw some movies, some Russian movies, but I guess it's hard. I'm gonna try to find some movies on YouTube. I did see some movies, some Chinese movies. They are great. But anyway, at the end of February, the New York Times published an article entitled "The Spy War: How the CIA Secretly Helps Ukraine Fight Putin." The article goes into detail describing relations between the Russian Special Services and the CIA, which has been training elite Ukrainian special forces since 2016 and helped create secret bases and underground bunkers that are still functioning. The main idea of the article is that American aid has allowed Ukraine to hold on and continue resisting. One might say this is no secret to anyone, but the very fact that systematic government publication openly published information that could previously be called conspiracy theory is important. Today, with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we see a new round of confrontation between the special services of Moscow and Washington. And although many people will perceive this as a showdown between the powerful that is unrelated to their everyday lives, foreign policy has influenced and will influence the lives of any country's citizens, and it affects their cultural life as well. I not care much about this because I don't like North American movies anymore, and I didn't saw much a lot of Russian movies neither. So yeah, I guess I don't care about movies. I care more about society, you know, about Chinese society, for example. So there's a lot of James Bond movies and so on. Anyway, I'm just gonna read the headlines from Russia Today. April 30. Home Russia and former Soviet Union. YouTube failed to delete 60,000 requested videos. Russian watchdog. Roskomnadzor has warned that non-compliance will entail hefty fines for platform's owner, Google's LLC. YouTube has yet to delete. Milu wants to go away. just more 10 minutes, Milu. Just 10 minutes. YouTube has yet to delete more than 60,000 pieces of content found to be in breach of Russian laws, the country's media and digital watchdog, Roskomnadzor, has revealed. Since the start of Russia's military campaign against Ukraine, against Ukraine in February 2022, authorities in Moscow have repeatedly taken issue with the US video hosting platform's failure to remove materials at their request. Speaking to TASS on Tuesday, Roskomnadzor's press office said that at present the number of illegal materials on YouTube not deleted at Roskomnadzor request is more than 60,700. I'm not getting if Roskomnadzor, if they want to delete or not. Officials pointed out that the owners of a website are obliged to remove any such files within 24 hours in cases involving the incitement of public unrest, extremism and certain types of fake news. Remedial actions should be taken immediately, the watchdog added. I guess by myself I did that on Facebook, but to me it's just a way to see what's going on, what's happened, what's illegal and what's not. Maybe I publish too violent things. I'm not sure. Roskomnadzor said that non-compliance is punishable by a fine amounting to as much as 20% of a company's annual revenue for repeat offenders. According to the Russian watchdog, in 2022, Google LLC was slapped with some 21 billion rubles, $220 million in fines. Well, last year the US tech giant was fined to the tune of 4.6 billion rubles. Google has been under pressure in Russia since the end of 2021 over its failure to delete content that Moscow deems illegal. In April 2022, reports emerged that the company has failed to pay the fines incurred, ultimately resulting in the seizure of Google's Russian accounts. Faced with multiple hefty penalties as well as monetary liabilities to numerous Russian businesses over its failure to provide advertising services, a Moscow court recognized Google's Russian subsidiary as bankrupt last October. Free services, including the company's search engine, as well as YouTube, are still available in Russia. I didn't get much of this news. I guess I'm dumb. Just the headlines. Look, Home World News. Russia ties embolden North Korea, Pentagon. U.S. Defense Chief Lloyd Austin has claimed that Pyongyang is made more confident by its relationship with Moscow. China, and this is from Cgtn now. We are going to run. France open doors to each other, share opportunities. China, April 30. Cgtn. With technical support, we have a photograph from Daya Bay Nuclear Power Plant in Shenzhen City, South China's Guangdong province. This was the photograph, and with technical support from Électricité de France, EDF, the fourth large-scale nuclear power station in China, went into operation in 1994. after nearly 10 years of construction. That's interesting because I thought China was, well, I didn't have, I was not sure about it, but definitely, Russia has more knowledge, there's a better word for that, uh, know-how, know-how, know-how than France, I guess. I guess Russia is better in nuclear energy than France. So why China don't ask Russia instead? Anyway, so there was 10 years ago, no, in 1994, there was a power plant, a nuclear power plant. It was I forgot how to say it, the inauguration, yeah. Since the Diabei nuclear power plant in Shenzhen city opening 30 years ago, EDF France, state-owned electricity company, has participated in various energy projects in China, including the Dongtae offshore wind power project in Jiangsu province, which is the first Sino-foreign offshore with wind farm in the country. Fabrice Fourcade, president of France-China Electricity Partnership Association, said the success of EDF's 4-decade cooperation with China lies primarily in mutual understanding. This means understanding each other's culture, work ethic, traditions, and languages. He wrote in an opinion piece for Cgtn. A similar trend of mutual understanding has allowed China and France to cooperate in fields ranging from technology and trade to cultural exchanges since the two countries established diplomatic ties in 1964. You know, this article is kind of better for read. But I'm gonna jump to the next one because I don't have time. Graphics. China and France benefit from all-around multi-level cooperation. Cgtn, April 28. The 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and France is being celebrated this year. Over the past 6 decades, the two countries have strengthened communication and cooperation in areas of education, culture, tourism, and green development. On this occasion, let's look at some highlights of the bilateral cooperation through the following graphic. So we are not going to see the graphic. China-France spirit. What lies behind 60 years of special friendship? You know, all these China-France cooperation, China-Europe cooperation is, I guess, proves. Well, there's also a movie, I guess it's a French movie, Balzac, and I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was about a girl that read Balzac and actually like it. It was a movie about nothing. It was a romance. Just more 4 minutes, and we go to the protest. And we are going to the protest. So I guess Russia will be abandoned by China, as I read before. And well, I will say it again. I guess the Communist Party in China is the next one. I guess that's possible, you know. I guess it's possible to China overthrow Communist Party, and well, I guess this is gonna be a bad business for China and Russian people. I guess that's gonna happen. And I'm saying that not because I am Italian, but because I guess that's gonna happen. Because, you know, freedom freedom is just is like poison, you know. Maybe in the global north there's some freedom, but right here in the global south there's no freedom at all. There's just, it's just poverty, you know. Anyway, global south sucks. Not so great. So China friend spirit, what lies behind 60 years of special friendship. And we have a huge article. I guess I'm done. Yeah, I'm gonna show you my, I'm gonna show my banner. I made a banner. I'm gonna show you, look. Look, pretty critic against government. I'm saying here that Boric is just useless. Boric is useless, just like Alberto Fernandez. And they're the, as you can see over there, I guess all that mob, all the people from May 1st, and they are the cops over there. Well, my lens is terrible, this lens, but there's the protest, and here we go. And I guess these people, they will hate me. The protest is over there, look. There's a lot of people protesting, and there's a car with a sound equipment, but I don't care. I'm just gonna protest. Well, look. And this one is from Brazil. I was living in Salvador, Bahia, and over there is this protest, this classical protest, and that's what I'm gonna do.